thank you for doing this. Uh, it's about an hour call, and we've got a few topics to go through. So let's get to it. Hopefully, we all come to a nice place with the things we want to talk about. Okay, so it's divided into a few sections. Um, for those of you, please do follow. I know a lot of you have found me through Rumi's account. Please do give Seven Ideas a follow because we have a lot more interesting guests coming up. Okay, so the first question is always when I post a guest, because I guess I'm fortunate enough that I'm able to get people from different parts of the world. You're living in Jakarta, and hopefully for people who are not from the Jakarta market, whether it's on the live call, whether it's on future clips, it would be nice for them to know a little bit about your market. So we talked a little bit about what we want to do for each of these. And for the first one, I guess I would like us to discuss a little bit about giving a shit. Okay? Giving a shit, like caring. Okay. Right? There's definitely what's happening a lot these days for people who have been around in the industry for at least, let's say, 10 years, maybe more, or even less. You know what? Let's say even since the pandemic. I think we are seeing a drop in care. Now, a drop in care should be defined here, actually. It's about people who have been around long enough to know that creativity, strategy, a lot of aspects of advertising has been built on an idea that we are pushing. This is commercial work. Get it? It's not creative. It's not art necessarily. It's commercial art in some ways. And with that, through experience comes understanding of what it takes to make something good, what the end result should be. There is this feeling these days that people are not caring so much about the creative output or the creative outcome, for that matter. And this is going for both client side and also on agency side. Okay. And I know you wanted to touch upon this a little bit. Take it away.
Okay. I think it's a shifting era for me, the way I witness this, because I'm in a generation where before we were glorified by ATL Move, Billboard, TVCs and everything, and then digital waves came in, and then everything changes. Before creative were was put into something in a long-term medium format. So, the price for a spot in TV is really expensive, and they get longer stands, and then digital came up, and everything it felt like so replaceable, So
yeah,
and
digital advertising has democratized advertising in many ways, right? As you pointed out, back when we could use a term like ATL, and I think it's a dead term now, it's only for people who know what that means, above the line, which was almost a derogatory term for important shit. Right. TV was important and digital stuff was not. It was just called BTL, below the line. But there's no more ATL, BTL because it's irrelevant. Right. And you're right. The investment that brands had to make to do ATL, as you described, is no longer the mainstay of how we do advertising. Digital advertising has helped make it accessible, democratize it. And yes, there are impacts related to that. So please continue.
No, the market is basically shifting. It's basically the consumer itself. Now we have more options. As a consumer, we have more options to choose what we want. I think it is really rare to find any loyalties. In the scroll of a hand, you can just jump in from one brand to another product. In the scroll of a hand, then you can tap in and then you can just get a product. Everything becomes so fast. And I think brands are trying to catch up. They try to learn in this moving in this moving the pace moving consumers? And I think the answers are, I think that's why we stop really caring so much about, because the it happens so fast, man. And creative itself, before it was time that creative have time to think through about everything, and now they don't have enough time. They felt like that. So the conversation today with my friends is almost about that. We don't have enough time now. We don't know how to. They the old advertising person perhaps want to create some this kind of masterpiece things, but they cannot do it because their world, the platform is now different. And they were judged now by numbers. That CTR, that impression, that everything, those statistic, everything. And then I think all of it, if we're talking about giving a shit, I think most of brands and some of the agencies now are relying too much on the number itself. I think we judge we judge those behavior too soon. I mean, too fast. The numbers are basically indicated motive. That's what we doesn't see. It reflects on real motive for people, and real people. It produces real motive. In how can I say? Okay, there's this case when I was in a groceries, working on the groceries, and then these numbers came up. Our customers is basically a mom at this age of yada yada yada, the SES is something like this, and then they create this marketing strategy to basically to talk to this target audience. But when I see the data, I think what they don't see is like there's two type of moms. There's the stay-home moms and then they working moms. Even though they have the same numbers on age, SES, and demographic things, but their behavior towards something is different. What grocery is different. The stay-home moms would rely more on real experience shopping on offline, but the working moms don't have any time for that.
So look, so let's kind of slow it down a little bit. I think we're going we're going a little bit more deeper into how internally we are analyzing worth. Let's call it that off the cuff. That's my thinking of it. Let's bring it back a little bit more towards what you're seeing that is indicating that both agencies and clients are not caring so much about creative output. I think what you're saying is it's because everything is becoming numbers driven, we're losing focus. I think that's essentially the point you're making there, right?
Yeah.
But I want us to concentrate a little bit more on the impact of being in a reality where agencies are not caring as much and clients are also not caring as much about crafting and building the narrative to tell that right story in a creative way.
Agree, because I think that's what's lost. We sometimes forget to know to understand that those numbers represent real people. We don't see their real motive behind. They don't see the emotion. We don't see the context. Why are they shifting? Why are they changing? Why are they? If I think data should inform, not dictate, because we need to translate data. We need to see the pattern behind data and then translate and articulate it into human values to really understand how to make a real connection and give real meaningful values. Because I know this guy. He's a marketer. Basically, I have my time when I kind of like jump into brand side to client side before for like 3 years, and I learned a lot from this guy. Basically, he's a marketer. He doesn't have any background in advertising, and but what I really respect about this guy is she actually put brand strategy always into his marketing funnel strategy. So brand would reveal as a person, and by that I mean he always told me to try to translate the features, try to translate the numbers, try to translate every product features into human values. What does that really means for them? So instead of saying like you have this super fast internet, he would rather say that super fast internet would give you freedom, something like that. So articulate that data would
Sure,
really
it's about pointing the benefit rather than the bullet point of the offering. I get that, but again, Rumi, I think what you're citing is what are people doing in relation to the current mode of giving a shit. I use that term again. I wasn't planning on using giving a shit, but it seems like we're both okay with using it now. Um, and I think we're gonna talk more about this throughout the hour about how we can care and how we can help solve things in the new reality of advertising. But let's talk a little bit more from the emotional impact of it, of the fact that people are not caring. You're talking about how people are caring more about the numbers and not caring more about the emotive aspects of it. Yes, I agree. But let's stick to that. What is the impact of the fact that people are not caring so much about it? It's the answer isn't so much about well, they're just sticking to data. It's what I want to find out is what is the impact of the fact that you're not caring about it? It's about what is the impact of it not happening, not about what we're doing about it.
okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
So I think um, the impact of not giving a shit is basically that we kind of lost in what people motives anyway. So we doesn't really build a real relationship. So brand doesn't really build a relevant relationship with the audience anymore. And then it impacts on the agencies now. The agencies where most agencies are trying to create something on social platform, right? Everybody's trying to be cool on social platform. Everybody's trying to be the try to steal the conversations, but and they don't even create. I mean, agencies have their social media department that competes with the real content creator out there. But what our creative does actually today is mostly they're copying what really trending just on social media. They don't really. I'm a big fan of data myself. I say it because I don't hate data myself, but I really like to learn everything the motive behind. By that, I can come up with something that comes with more personal how to make the interaction with people. So per se, if I deal with the social media campaign, um, I, I think the first thing that I want to know is how to talk with this kind of persona, and what the brand identity is, and how to talk um, with 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 the truth of the brand itself. No, because the brand cannot copy something just because it's cool. You're a person, if I did something cool, I mean, Z, and then you did something like me, people would see it awkward. It's really strange. It doesn't really connect. No.
right. So you're right. There's a bit of a sameness happening. It seems like it's becoming a recurring theme. I've been having a few chats with a few different people. 2 weeks ago, I had a chat with another peer in Jakarta, and there's a clip of it on the TikTok page, guys. There's a link on the TikTok page, on the Instagram. There's a link directly there, and it was about data becoming the driving force for making decisions. You're right. How about this? Maybe to put the subject to bed, let's put it this way. Let's compartmentalize it. Let's look at it from client's point of view and agency point of
Yeah.
view. Let's start with agency point of view. What we're saying is because of the way we're looking at advertising and the way we're selling it out to clients, because the clients are the ones who are dictating what they want, there is a feeling of less care in, let's say, crafting, the artistry, stuff like that, related to that.
Yeah.
What is happening? You already mentioned what's happening within the agency. What is happening at the executive level, let's say, because what executives are doing is they are going with the trend, right? It's inevitable, right? So it doesn't matter if the executive is 5 years in the business or 15 or 20 years in the business. You have to go because as an executive, you are pushing the agenda that's getting you the work. Unfortunately, it's a business. We live in a business. This is not Picasso. We're not artists. We're commercial artists. There has to be someone who's paying us to do a service. So what do you think is happening with agencies, first of all, when they don't care for the reasons I just mentioned?
The lack of craftsmanship. We don't think through enough. Everything is just deliver. Deliver the best way we can. And just like what I'm saying, I think the tensions come from the face-pacing world. Everything has to come up fast. And and we're talking about. I think, how do I say it? We don't see it. We don't see a creation, content creation, advertising creation, album creation, everything to series anymore. We justified it by you can always make it by your phone. You don't need a big camera thing like itself. You know, cuts and edits. You can just do it in that application. You just need your phone basically. So everything is instant and instant. What I think on the executive level, perhaps they don't really see is the practice to build that communication. It's not about delivering videos. It's not about delivering or banners or ads. It's basically we try to touch people with communication from the brand itself.
Yeah, yeah. And so then switching to the client side, what do you think is the impact of them treating communications, advertising, content as a data-driven widget? Like, what do you think is happening from them? What is the impact of the clients feeling that way?
Well, in my experience, when I was in brand, we always have this one week. We try to analyze the result from the data itself. Every department sit there, every department presenting the numbers. But I think it's because of that big department, and I think the brand doesn't have really enough time to really consolidate those numbers. To make a pattern to see the bigger picture. Um,
And the impact of that is?
and the impact is the lack of understanding towards the customer itself. The brands would give, if something like this happens, if the numbers are dropping, so they would act by keep pushing the promos. But promos doesn't really give you doesn't really give the brand loyalty itself. People who chase after promos is basically a quiz hunt or something like that. Um, it's just
Okay. So two things I would say to that. Number one, emotionally, I think you're taking on a certain responsibility for perhaps what the client is lacking. What I mean by that is, if clients are looking at performance of content based on dropping numbers and their reaction to it becomes a bit, let's say, technical or data driven, that's not necessarily a creative problem. That's a client problem. Clients are the ones who have decided to do that. Now, if clients decide to do that, that might also be a market problem. Because I'm sorry, I talk to a lot of people from different markets. Not all markets have the problem you're mentioning. This may be a Jakarta problem en masse, let's say, because I can clearly cite a conversation I had recently with another guest who is in a different market, and they were praising how the one silver lining is that clients are understanding what's going on. And we're so glad that they're able to do that. I say to you, that might be something that's happening on ground on your side. Because you're right, look, the two are connected. Clients are connected to agencies at the end of the day. Whatever the frustration that's happening or you're seeing happening on the agency side is something because it's close to you, because you're a brand guy, you're an agency guy, or have been for predominantly for your career. You kind of see you guys are fucking up in whatever way. But you're also taking on the burden of what the clients are doing. And unfortunately, mate, the two have to work together.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if they are reacting to problems and using the only information or talent or experience they have, being only a post-digital world, that's a problem. That's the trust, the lack of trust that we have between client and agency. And that lack of trust is what's creating the lack of giving a fuck, giving a shit. Sorry, I elevated to a new word. Lack of giving a shit. And you know, it's one of those things where if we don't get our act together, and I mean individually from a client side and agency side, it's going to be hard because not all markets are going through it, man. I know Jakarta's going through it, and that's the reason why I want to talk to you about this.
No,
but while I was
sorry, Z, can I cut?
Yeah.
What's interesting is, the market itself, it's not that easy to be recognized, because market now is really cluttered, and like let's talk about SES, like in the
I don't know
in the middle.
what that is. I don't know what ICS is. What's ICS?
In the middle economy or lower economy, people would
Okay.
still people will buy expensive items.
Brands, yeah, sure.
It's costly items, and then we pick up in data,
Yep.
and then but the upper class doesn't really spend that much on that items anymore, and then when all the data came up, it creates something like a chaotic pattern that we need to go through to see what is behind, what makes the lower economic class buy those items, and what makes the upper economic class doesn't really buy an expensive items. They invest in something cheaper, but
and what you are citing is exactly the problem. The problem is the fact it's that there are people placed within both sides, agency side and client side, who are fucking stupid. They're chasing numbers based on the numbers, because we've removed the feel, the gut instinct, and the experience of going, that's a false flag. The reason why this trend is bucking, why this trend is shifting in an unconventional way, you have to look at the psychographics of it, and you can't act on it. And again, this is about competency. This is a conversation about it started with from caring, and it started with where the business is going. But at the end of the day, there is a competency issue here. See, that maybe perhaps the type of clientele that not just you, but a lot of people in Jakarta are going through, we are living in a time where Jakarta has got a huge population, and it does the bulk of the consumer spending, right? I think you guys are 12 million, whatever it is, but Jakarta advertising represents pretty much the 280 million population in some ways or form. All the other markets are second tiers, third tiers. and you've relied on people who are calling the shots based on data. And in a way, to finish off the conversation, I think what we're saying is, yes, from an emotional point of view, it sucks that data is the way that we are moving things forward. But at the end of the day, you got to put the responsibility on the people, because if they, both agency and clients, if they're relying on analysts, let's say, and activating executions based on that, well, then that's what's holding you guys back. It's just a reality.
So I think like everyone needs to give more shit, you know,
Yeah,
give more shit to understand.
yeah, but hang on. They are, see, because at the end of the day, they think they are giving a shit. What I'm saying to you is this: you don't ride horses anymore. You drive cars, right? Just because you used to know what it was like to ride horses doesn't mean you have to care about knowing how to put on the horseshoe on a horse. Okay? What
Yeah.
I'm saying to you is, when all you're given is the car, you start forgetting all that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with progress. The point is not about progress. There's nothing wrong with data analysts. There's nothing wrong with using data to help your campaigns from a consumer side, from a client side, or from an agent side. But it's about, do you have the right type of people who know what to do with it? If you are just jump how high, that's bullshit. And unfortunately, in the democratization of digital advertising, because everything has become so accessible, you also have very accessible agencies. You also have very accessible clients and staff.
Yeah.
You can't change that. They both go hand in hand. If it's easy to do digital advertising, it's easy to put a bum on a seat to read data. It all comes back to care. It all comes back to care. But it comes down to the individual agencies or clients have to make an effort, or else it doesn't make any sense. We're going to have this frustration. It's not going to change. I would like to move to the next topic.
All right.
Which is a bit more of an informal topic. Let's remove the commercial aspect of advertising, and let's talk a little bit more about creativity or art. Okay?
Okay. My favorite topic.
Yes. I know you have an opinion on how life imitates art or art imitates life, depending on how you want to see it. Talk to me a little bit about how the business you're in has influenced the way you look at life, at art, and everything in between, leading back to life again.
Okay. It all started when I was a very little kid. You know, my father is basically a painter, and also an art director, and I'm seeing a lot of artistic figure ever since I was a kid. You know, as a kid, I see the fun part of it. You know, scribbling with everything. You know, drawing everything you want. And he's a bit eccentric sometimes. He's drawing caricature, but then as I get inspired, you know, and I try, I follow, I learn from him a lot. You know, I read like literature, even from my early age. I learned how to draw and use this exploring about the watercolor and everything from my early age, and I explore a lot of arts basically. And the more I do my art until I think it was in college. You know, I think it was in college and it's in mid semester, and I realized that it's not about being cool. You know, it's not about being fun. You know, if we because whenever I try to make in my head, if I try to make a great art, I want to make an art that really looks cool, you know, entertaining for people and everything. It doesn't felt really, it doesn't felt really what I don't really um, how do I say it? I don't really fancy about it. You know, I don't. It's not a big pleasure, but But then I got a retreat. I go camping on the mountains, riding my motorcycle, and met with this ibu-ibu on a warung. And we talk more about life and everything, her life basically with her family and everything. And then I came back the day after, and I wrote a piece about that. And I think this is even bigger than the even bigger than the theater script that I wrote before. You know, even bigger than the painting that I did before. You know, this is whole. So what my point is, I think, and I believe by that don't jump straight if you're going to make art. You know, don't jump straight into what you want to make. You know, because art basically is a manifestation of life. Now, it if you're seeing a life that really close and really deep in it, it really feel that resonance into you, and I think you're gonna create a better work of art. You know, that's really relevant to you because that's how you express life itself, rather than you copying some artist. You know, and, and it happens. It really happens in my college. You know, a lot of my friends are copying Basquiat. A lot of my friends are copying like Warhol things. Like they're trying to be something that they don't. You know, and then they kind of like I know their inspiration. They try to copy, and then they would recreate something, but they don't really, in my opinion, they don't go really far by that time. No, the exploration was good on there.
This is coming back a little bit more about you, which is great. That's why I wanted to talk to you. This is about not all creative people, at least in our industry, are the same. Yes, it is commercial art, but it is steeped a little bit in you might you are most likely there because you believe in an art form, and maybe that art form is design or crafting, typography, whatever that might be. Um, Yes, I think it's interesting. I think it's quite a nice lesson actually for young people in the industry, and they are a diminishing number these days. People who care about what we're doing in the industry. Yes, I do think there is something to be said about people who are like, for example, cooking. I know you have opinions on that. Like even when you cook, it's an art. It can be an art form if you care about why, about the why of this plus this equals that, right? Essentially, that's what artists are, right? In your case of the Ibu that you saw on a motorcycle run in the mountain, it's about you found a muse, and the muse helped create art for you in this case of writing, and it's that catalyst. Yeah, somebody we need that catalyst, and yeah, commercial the commercial industry doesn't need it, but it has needed it from a crafting perspective. We are maybe again with the ubiquitousness of digital advertising and the time it takes to craft things, we're losing that. Let's go out and explore, because the things we go out and see and explore will come back and help us within what we do for a living, right?
Right.
I mean, how would, for example, let's talk about the cooking thing. Like, how would you how could you create a throughput line from something like that to what you're
Okay.
saying?
Um, I've I read an article before. A chef wrote an article. I think it's a beautiful article. I forgot the I think it's salt and pepper, something like that. And he stated that cooking is not an art; it's a craftsmanship. And the more I read it down, I think um, I appreciate what he wrote it in, but I doesn't fully really agree about it, because in the process of creation, for me, I think we're gonna involve all those three things in process of creation, in
What what,
creativity.
what three what three things? What do you mean three things?
There is artistry, there is design, and there is craftsmanship. You know, when I think what that chef trying to focus is that craftsmanship is not really for everybody, because artistry is about how you create the imagination, how you build that concept that you want to achieve. But it's really a conceptual thing, and by design is when that concept you're trying to purpose it or repurpose it, you will start to thinking in design structure. But craftsmanship is really about getting your hands there. I mean, to be able to do something in craftsmanship, you need the base fundamentals. If a chef has to really know how to, he has to have that skill of chopping something the right way. What kind of slice. The same as when I was in my college in art, I learned how to do stroke from brush to pencils to pen and everything. The right way. It needs the right fundamentals to do that. And then because everybody can do art, yes, but not everyone can do craftsmanship, because it really takes discipline to take the fundamentals.
Let me give you an analogy. I think it's apt for this.
Okay.
Advertising, 95% of advertising is fucking shit. And that's okay. That's life.
Okay.
95% of all advertising is shit, because we just need to because people have to get stuff done, and it equates to an execution.
Yeah.
It depends on who you are, and you want to be in that 5% of advertising that is memorable. And I think cooking is the same. Anyone can open a restaurant. You can take 100 chefs or cooks, and they make gado-gado. Okay? My favorite Indonesian dish, which I miss. In Bali, we don't have good gado-gado.
Okay.
95 of those chefs are just making gado-gado, and 5 of them will do something good with it.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay, man. Sorry, it's not okay that we only have 5 good ones and 95 meh ones. But at the end of the day, that's the difference between someone who cares about what they're doing versus not.
Yeah, I'm not calling myself a chef though, but
I get it, but it's not whether you can achieve it, but it's appreciating and respecting what it takes to do the best version of anything.
because I think we can adapt one fundamentals. If you found the fundamentals of creation in art, you can always implement it to other things. And art is not just about painting. It's not just about music. It's basically it's everything in your life. Even combing your hair, it can be art, right?
So no hair, but go on. Yeah.
I didn't expect you picking that up. Okay. When I cook, I try to imagine about what people would taste, what feelings that comes after they taste my cooking, and I don't have that craftsmanship as a chef though, but in creativity we always we're solving problems, right? So I would find a way to get around that so I can achieve that same taste, to deliver that, because basically there are 3 fundamentals in creation. So the first is about note, and then composition, and then rhythm. If you can really understood about these 3, I'm sure you can adapt all kind of art. You're not a musician, but you can play music, adapting those 3. I think it's possible, because the note, understanding note is basically it's the base element that we use, in music per se. Basically, a note in music it came from frequency. Certain frequency create these notes. Certain frequency create these notes, right? And colors in visual art, basically a spectrum. We learn about RGB. We learn about mixing stuff. This the way that we saw in Photoshop. It creates this, basically this color and tone, and how you compose those tones, it makes a specific emotion that ignite it. But it doesn't just stop there. But when you put the tension on each notes in the composition, then you create a life. I think it's a whole experience bound to it.
So I have a question for you for someone who has asked a question. I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but I can read it on my screen.
Okay.
I don't know how to I don't know how to read your name. I'm gonna call you Ria because I don't know exactly what it is
I
that your
agree.
name is. It is Ria. Okay, good. I got it right. What if you have to think about something that people don't like? Ria, what is it that you're referring to? Is it something we talked about already? And Rumi can help answer.
What if you have to think about something that people don't like? Is it
I imagine she's talking about within the industry of advertising. Uh, maybe until she replies to clarify what she
okay?
means. Maybe what she means is doing a piece of work that doesn't necessarily align with the way you are, the way you see something should be from an artistic point of view, right, Ria? It's and she goes, it's the method. What do you think?
What? I don't really understand. Is it mean that we are forced to do something that we don't like? Is it something like that? We have to
I think
create
you might.
something.
I think she might be speaking from a commercial point of view versus what we want to do. If we want to do it in an artistic way.
Ah, well, if you're talking about commercial industry, it's a whole different context, you know. Um,
I know, but this is about life imitating art or art imitating life, right? One
sorry, I
thing
don't.
is if you can find the beauty in everyday life and you give a shit, let's say the cooking thing,
Mhm.
and you bring it in, even though you're not going to be a chef, but you want to care about the way you're doing it.
Mhm.
What happens when you're on the commercial end of things, when you're in advertising, and you may have that mantra of how you approach art,
Mhm.
let's say, but you are faced with a brief that's a banner ad, and it's just it's I got to do this many steps. How do you navigate? How do you remove yourself from that person who wants to pursue the best of it?
I think I can. I always try to be that person, you know, trying to pursue everything, even though it's just a banner. Um, now, it's not about the end of creation, something like the one that I've told before. You know, it's not about being create a cool artwork or something, but the real purpose about art is it complements us. You know, if a single banner can complement you, make you whole, make you complete, I think my work is done.
I think that's a healthy perspective to have. But as you said, the way things are going in the truncated timelines of a very saturated digital market like Jakarta,
Mm.
and I think you mentioned earlier in the call that not everybody has time to care as much into the crafting. How do you deal with that? Right? I mean, you said that, didn't you?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's hard. I mean, again, this is an informal topic anyway. This is about you, Rumi, and how you bring in what your passion is, and let's call it art in an art, whatever manifestation of art is within a work environment, but how you are able to also bring that into your everyday life, right? I get the point Ria's making. It's nice to have passions, but we also have to be realistic. And I think that's going to be nice. We're going to dovetail quite nicely to the next
Mm.
topic, which is about expectations. So I
Yeah.
think maybe we should move on to that. We're about 45 minutes in. So
Okay.
this next topic, I don't think it ends what we just talked about. I think it dovetails quite nicely into it. Um, Too many people talk about the good old days of advertising. It seems like this is a recurring theme, right? That is essentially what we're talking about in many ways. You're talking about pursuing how to be the best version of yourself, to give the best version of yourself within a work environment. So now let's take a step back, but still address it at the same time. There's a lot of people over a certain experience group,
Hmm.
and you seem to be finding a lot of people goes, man, the industry is shit now, it's dead, or
Yeah.
I'm just throwing words out there, but it's not going anywhere. They're doing this wrong, they're doing that wrong, they're doing things,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you kind of have a strong feeling about that, on what is a healthy way of approaching where we are right now currently with the industry.
Uh-huh. Well, I don't really I heard people pitching about it. We we miss our glory days of advertising when everything is cool with, and now we doesn't have any plays about it. My take is like, I think my understanding is it's because, perhaps because, um, those who doesn't really accept today's world, they they felt stuck because, um, today's environment doesn't really give it that opportunity like before. Budgets are tighter now. Clients want faster, cheaper, and more measurable results. And once we talked before, digital has shifting the rules and everything's going so fast. And then, but I think one thing one thing from advertising, our task in advertising, one thing that never change is we exist. Advertising exists is to connect people with a brand, to give that meaningful values. It's always about that. That's what make advertising cool. The way we crack, breathe day and night, and try to find a way how to create these meaningful values for people. If it happens, then I think that is the best thing that's going to happen to you in advertising, at least for me.
I agree with you on a few of those things. I I definitely agree with you that if certainly if you're in the industry for the right reasons, you are used to being a problem solver,
Mm.
and no matter what is thrown at you, that is kind of part and parcel of the job. It's solving a problem, which I think is a very beautiful thing about the industry. It's somebody throws the problem at you and you have to solve it. Now, whether it's from a strategic point of view, whether it's from a creative point of view, whether it's from a admin point of view, like we have challenges, right? Certainly more nowadays than we used to have before. Um, and on the other hand, I also I empathize with a lot of people who have been struggling in the latest iteration of what advertising has become. And I agree with you also that there's no point us bitching about it. We have to come up with a solution. With that empathy comes understanding, but it also, there has to be a cold shower moment. You know what I mean? Like, yes, this is happening, and I agree on this is why, this is why, this is why. But we have to have a cold shower moment, wake up, and go, well, let's do something about it, right?
Right, right. Because in my personal experience, there are days that I want to be Paul Rand. I read books about Paul Rand a lot. Um, and everyone who worked with me before in Dentsu that really knows me, apologize for my attitude by that day. Because I was this asshole, doesn't really listen to direction. Because in my head, um, I I think I read too much about Paul Rand, and I'm trying to be a Paul Rand by that time. But the reality is different. The more we push it, the more I get pushed back. And so I think the learning curve for me is like, don't try to be the next Paul Rand. All you got to do is to be the first one, to solve this generation issue. to solve this situation now. Just try to adapt, try to learn. I mean, put that Oren, David Ogilvy kind of thing, John Haggerty kind of thing back in your head, but as a learning, don't push it too hard, because we're not living on the same universe.
I agree. If there is one criticism, one indictment of a lot of people who are talking about the good old days in that way, it's that maybe it's a combination thing. Maybe it's a conversation of idealism versus realism, and recognizing when it's time to be idealistic and when it's time to be realistic. But it's also, at the end of the day, if you're just going to scream into a vacuum, it's not going to change, right? What I'm saying is, I think it's okay. I think it's okay for people to talk about it. Yeah. I think it's healthy for people to talk about it. Yeah. But let's talk about it and then go, what the fuck do we do about it now? Well, at the end of the day, if we can deal with these things and go, all right, you know what? I was a problem solver before. I think I'm a problem solver now. What should I do about it? What is my contribution to making it better? And I think that's a lot of the themes, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because at my end, I would personally, I think this is what keeps me survive right until now, is basically by staying curious about everything. Things are just don't go like how it sounds on the surface. We have to see the motive behind. We keep learning everything, and our new generation is not so different than us. People are talking about Genzi and everything, and they talking about Genzi like there was some kind of alien coming from another planet. But basically, if we look at the shifting from generation to generation, I think the pattern there's the same pattern, but the game is different. The millennials are used to be fight back. We fight back. We don't agree with something, we show it, but Gen Z don't do that. But they also protest in their way.
How?
They have their own that they have their own terms and everything. They don't agree, but they don't shout it out loud, but they buzzing something on their social. Or
are we talking about consumers' point of view here, or are we talking about Gen Z within advertising right now?
Just talking about Gen Z, not really about advertising in general.
Okay.
It's an attitude.
But could you bring it back into this is the new crop of people. This is the generation of people who are going to continue on with this business in Jakarta and everywhere else.
Yeah, related to advertising, I think we have to understand more, because I have my experience where I get the brief. The brand is always targeting about Gen Z right now.
Through the legends on their T-shirts. Thank you, Shubho. Sorry, keep going.
What does that mean?
Don't worry, keep going. Keep going.
It's something. Okay. But we try to target in sense Gen Z, but the clients are pushing more into celebrating something like showing your expression, something like that. There's not Gen Z way. Gen Z doesn't really showing their expression. They don't shout out. It's millennials that do.
Okay, and that's fine, and I get it. This is about the I don't want to use the word old school. It's the old guard versus the new guard. Okay, that's fine. I get it.
Basically,
now, so now just to keep it a bit more pointed, we're talking about the new guard. What is Gen Z? How is Gen Z dealing with it in relation to the impact of the way we are doing advertising right now? Because at the end of the day, the whole hour has really been about dealing with where we are today, right? What I'm saying to you is, if we're setting these rules, and we talked about how data is, it's the way we're analyzing data, and we're being too reactive to data, and we're losing the feel aspect of it. Fine, that's that one thing. But today we are looking at Gen Z, not just from a consumer point of view, but from the point of view that these are the future leaders. These are the current leaders in some shape or form, at least at this point. What is it that they need advertising to be more of that maybe we're not doing enough to give them and be a part of that continuing journey?
I think advertising needs to talk more with their language. I think advertising needs to be more relevant to them, more really know them.
And what does that look like?
I'm in my team. Some of them are basically Gen Zs, and the way they protest it's really different. The way they express themselves is really different. They don't really fight back. If they don't agree with you, then they would say something like, "Well, that's it. I agree, but I not agree." And I think if we cannot push something to them, showing something like um, express yourself. Let's say it doesn't work with them.
Yeah, but what does? I get it,
Just,
but what does?
you just have to create this. Uh, they need a space that can be filled in, participate. They need more experience driven. They had enough bullshit throwing to them already. They really want what's really real, but that they doesn't really want get the real. Uh, they doesn't want the consequences.
This is a longer conversation. I didn't know we were going to go down this rabbit hole, but
Okay.
it's I get it. No. But it's not a bad thing. It's nice that we're doing this, that we're having this conversation.
Well, honestly, I think the whole things about this conversation now is not really deep into about Kenzie, right? But it's more about what we should do about today's, and for me myself is basically keep learning everything, and because I cannot rely on the old method that I learned a lot from my mentors before. You were one of my mentors also, but I cannot really rely on that anymore. There is no right or wrong theory because it's not proven yet that there is the right way. No, so what's best that I could do is basically just came up with trial and errors. Keep curious, keep coming with new methods. Before Boldy, I set up this creative house named Holic, and I'm talking about this new concept of delivering creativity. So let's try to push production, but creative on the back. Let's see how it goes, and just keep doing that basically.
I think it's important that we kind of talk about this with the Gen Z thing. Um, uh, how about this? I will start with one thing that the last comment was from Shubho, who left on the call, which is why the focus on Gen Z. They're not the one who are doing
Buying power.
the spending, let's say, right?
Right.
And I don't think that's so. It's a nuanced thing he's asking. I mean, Shubhu comes from ATL, and he's looking at the type of clients that he's also dealing with who are spending a certain amount of money. And but what maybe we're not discussing is the fact that a lot of the actual work, the day-to-day work that's happening in Jakarta in digital advertising, is not related to selling a fucking car. It's getting a top-up card, or it's going to, I don't know, this mall, or like small things that Gen Z, because Indonesia is has got such a high young population, they become relevant. Now, I don't want to get into the consumer side of things, at the end of the day, this is an advertising industry primarily conversation, certainly with an advertising guest. My question to you is, we've cited that a lot of well, actually, we didn't say it, but I'm going to say it,
Mm.
that you have a lot of younger people in the industry who maybe are picking up the potato from what the last generation of people in advertising have left them, which is, here you go, do it data driven. You don't worry about crafting. That was before. We don't give a shit. Let's move on. Right? I'm using that as an analogy.
Okay.
The Gen Z, I don't want to say like it or hate it. It's an inevitability. They're going to be the ones to continue on in what we're doing until they shoot you and me or other people, and we can pass down that knowledge.
All right.
How is Gen Z dealing with advertising? Because the one thing I've noticed, I hear across the board, not even in Indonesia, I'm hearing in New Zealand, I'm hearing in Europe, is the lack of interest in marketing and advertising nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have that passion for the industry.
Yeah.
So
Good.
so I only jumped to this topic because you said we have to. I know you were talking from a consumer point of view. You said we have to talk to Gen Z in a different way than we're doing right now. The way millennials do it is one way, but that's not being receptive. They're not being receptive to that. Okay, I put that aside as a consumer. What do we do about Gen Z within the industry? The people who are using it as a ABC 9 to 5 job, and they're also adding to the frustration that nobody gives a shit. How do you do
All
with
right.
it?
I mean, well, the end goal is try to make a real connection with them. What really matters for them. We have to deep dive about it, and then they are smart generation. Basically, they see a lot of commercial thing and everything. They really hate if we come aggressively to them and try to sell things.
Again, it sounds like are you talking about consumers or are you talking about people within the industry?
I'm talking about the consumer.
Can we talk a little bit more about Gen Z in the industry?
Ah,
Consumers,
okay,
I get, right?
okay.
Whether we need to talk to Gen Z comes down to, it really comes down to your game. Maybe you are dealing with a lot of brands that do that. I want us to talk more about the industry of the lack of attention span, the lack of looking at the industry as a career in ways that are different than how it was with previous generations. So I get it because consumers is a subjective
Okay,
matter,
okay.
but I think it's important we talk about because this is on our community section. It's about our community is the young generation or the Gen Z generation. Let's talk about them.
All right.
What are they getting or not getting out of it, and what is it that we can be giving them more so they can get something more out of it?
I think it's deeper understanding about meanings. They are smart. Basically, if you ask them about data and everything, they would came up with data and everything. But I think they really need help to understand the the basic values, to translate the basic values for them. What really resonates for people. Because I think the way they see people, it's in our version. Perhaps they don't see people as people, but um, in my team, I think what I can do for them is basically try to articulate um, all the meaning behind. It's not just about people buying stuff. It's not just people following the trends. It's not just about fashion. What they really need is deeper understanding about what behind it. And I think we are the previous generation, um, have to know a lot. We dig a lot about those kind of things. We do our research more than they ever did.
Okay.
First, it shaped the mentality. If you're talking about creative, shape the mentality, which means is there's um, we have to encourage them not trying to be right, because I think that's what's the problem of working with Gen Z right now.
That's a that's a young people problem. All young people get it
Right.
wrong, and the older people in the agency tell them you're fucking wrong. That's a perennial problem. I think what I'm worried about is for the people who are in positions of power in how they are leading advertising as it stands today. We can talk till the cows come home about what's wrong with things, or whether we're being too data driven, whether we don't give a shit about craft anymore. I get it, but at the end of the day, if there's no one left to fucking do it, nothing's going to change anyway. We got to be able to pass down the information, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that requires the people that you surround yourself with are focused on the right things. We don't have to talk about what the things that we need to focus on. I'm asking you, as a person who is surrounded by a lot more Gen Z people within a workforce, both client side and your own agency side, what is it that we are missing that we might need to rethink or reevaluate, in which to keep their interest going so that we can get to fixing those problems?
Well, I always use I try to inspire them every time, but the key is try to sit them a lot, try to hang with them a lot, try to understand them a lot, try to make them really understand that you were there, you exist in different generation, but not but you don't judge them.
Right. And you're describing good leadership, and I get that. I think good leadership, that's what it entails. I guess let's call it a curiosity of mine.
Yeah.
I am also seeing that Gen Z is not taking advertising like a duck to water in perhaps the way you and I might have taken to it.
Right.
And it's because you cited maybe 20 minutes ago that they consume things differently, they consume information differently, they expect different things, and the way, as brands, going back to the consumer side of it, we talk to them in a way that it's still made for a generation that Gen Z don't care about. So what I'm saying to you is, back to the agency side, what is it that we can do, you can do, or you are doing, besides being a good leader? Because a good leader always listens, a good leader always asks. What is it that Gen Z needs in order for this to have a hope in fucking hell?
Well, I think that's the first thing that you got to do is be a good leader, so they don't feel like there's this level gap between you and them, you know. And then once their connection exists, and you go and inspire, show them what great advertising was, show them the commercial of Nike, how it inspires, And every time I did that to my younger generations, and they always they always appreciate it. They always want to do it. They want to make something like that. But the thing is, they don't have that resilience to think through, to sit down and brainstorm, and have all the pain to find that that thing that we need to ignite as an ideas.
How are
The
you dealing
reason,
with that? So what do you do to deal with that? You
so
recognize they have ADHD, I guess is what you're saying.
yeah,
They don't have the attention span to do it the way it deserves, the time it deserves to be given to it. How do you navigate that?
I gave them basically I gave them more flexibility. I think, but in something like, I don't care how you came up with this idea. I don't. What I really need is you to think through this. This is the reference and everything. Try to learn it. Try to understand it. And I will give you freedom to go through it in your own way, and don't be afraid about everything. We cannot force it something to them, like in our time before.
I think good leaders in my life did that to me when I was a generation removed from them, and I think again that's more about good leadership. Um, with Gen Z, I agree with you on the fragmentation of attention or lack of making our business more important than perhaps you and I or others of a certain ilk might have appreciated us. Being a good leader is one thing, and we all have to work to find out how that is going to happen. I do find Gen Z and Alpha, for that matter,
Mm.
um, they have such fragmented attention spans.
Okay.
It's hard for them to commit to a lot of the things that make this. It's a commercial art form. This is not art, like,
Yes. Right.
right? What I'm saying, okay, how about this? You cited your father was an art director. It was one of the reasons you got into advertising. And you know what he said when we had the pre-interview call, and I don't know if you mentioned on the live call. You said he saw it as one thing. I took what he saw it as, and it's my words. I improved on it or made it better for me. Correct?
Yeah.
That's you appreciating the industry that you were exposed to. You embraced it, and then you started looking at how to solve it in terms of how to make it better for yourself and hopefully for the industry as well, right?
Right.
So that's a linear. I see that linear progression from your father to you, art director. You were an art director, and then you moved on to other titles. Gen Z are not following the Rumi way of looking at it. Replace your father with you and replace Rumi with Gen Z. They're not really. Someone, Sarfina has said that really works on me as Gen Z. I'm not sure what Gen Sarfina is from, but address the things we're talking about.
Sorry. Yeah, I think because they don't get really much. They don't see much figure to be inspired of. Like I'm seeing my dad, and the way my dad treated me is basically he gave me something that I can own, so that I can do more about it and create more about it. I think that's the part that we need to give to our younger generation. Give something so they can feel that as an ownership. If you have an ownership, you would came up with um, uh, I forgot the word. You would came up with. You would make it bigger. You would put something about in yourself to that point. Because you know that you own it. You're gonna express yourself, because I think that's what's like of. Because back again, I don't see Gen Z as a different alien. The way I see it is it's the same generation that came over. It's younger. It has the same motive basically, but different game. The way they
Yeah, I mean,
express.
reading Sharafina's comment again properly, I think what she's saying is she is, as a Gen Z, getting that type of inspiration and advice from people who are not from that does help them, and that's good. That I think that's great. That is one of the worries that I do have, because we look at, as a consumer, Gen Z, in the way they consume information, consume communication rather,
Mm.
and it kind of echoes into the amount of effort we see being put in this current iteration of advertising. It does worry me, but I think what you're doing is you're correcting me in some ways. What you're saying is that's really all we can do, is be that good leader to immerse them in the right things, and whether it's the way to use AI in order to get your best ideas forward now, because that's the way we need to do it, or whether it's sharing with them, this is what good work looks like because I was a part of this generation of good work. They're both fruitful, and hopefully at the end of the day, evolution will take its natural course, right?
Right. AI is a good example. See, I mean, like they depends on tools. They create arts from AI per se, and then I I I don't really I think I think we as a former generation, I don't think we should judge them and tell them not
Don't technically say former
to
generation,
do
but keep
whatever.
going.
I don't want to say that we are old though. But what we can do is try to create something using use that AI tools as a tools, but use the tools for the mind, not don't use it because you cannot do it, you're the pilot for the AI, because we're basically digital or no digital, AI or no AI, human feelings are stay the same, the way we feel about something stay the same, so I think that younger generation should understand, put their feelings into their works
I,
through
I, I think they accept that they've understood that they need the validation from their leaders. I think, right? That's a lot of it. A lot of what it is. It's don't see it as a threat, as in for you and me. Let's say, don't see it as a threat. Use it as a tool. Use it as a different kind of a tool to use to get to motivate them to go. Well, let's use it in a way that is still in line with what the big picture is. The big picture is we need to get work that touches us, that engages with us, and hopefully create an affinity for the brands that we represent or are representing. Right?
right.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. I don't know if you want to add something to that, or you want me to move on.
um Add something, a short story basically. I have this Gen Z that I work with. It's basically working with GPT. It's creating a deck with GPT, but the way we analyze it, the way we review it, is basically by, can you feel something from it? Can you felt something out of that GPT output if you just copy paste it, or you have your own thought to say, you know? And that's how basically how I encourage younger people. And she came up with something that really basically combination of she's using GPT, and then she rethink of that data, and then she came up with something else that really came from her, and it's really different, and I said it to her like, you can feel the difference right here, because how we felt, our heart is never lie, how we felt about something, it's never going to be different, even the technology would progress something, but how we felt about something doesn't really matter. So I think that's what matter, use more hearts about it, give more shit about what you're doing.
Yeah, look, yeah. I'm glad This was not a topic we had planned on discussing, but I'm glad we discussed it. It came out organically, and which is fine. So thank you for playing along. I know I didn't want to blindside you with that, but it's important. It's important that we discuss on how at the end of the day we were still doing the community, because that's about people, and people in the industry. They're the workhorse, the people who are going to push us forward. So thank you for that. Okay. Um, the next topic. Now, the next topic isn't really about advertising, but you were a guest, and thank you for coming on again. I really appreciate it. I always try to take some time for guests to share a little bit about themselves. So let me set it up, because I think, I mean, you know what I'm going to ask you, but it always a lot. I've got a creative background. A lot of people are surprised that as a guy who's a creative guy, I'm missing the Spanish F1 race, by the way, while I'm doing this. A guy who's a creative can be so into engines and F1 or motorsports and mechanical engineering and things like that. And I have my own reasons for why that's. I like it because it's about strategy and it's about the 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 finer points on how to excel. I think that kind of feeds me in some way. So putting that aside, that's about me. I know that you're a guy who um, I think I can say that you're a bit of an introvert. You, at least around me when we were working together, you are introverted and you immerse yourself into your art, your books, and all these things, and your crafting. That's something that you are really into. One of the things that has really interested me is not your music, surprising as it might be to a lot of people who know you outside the industry. The fact that you create music, you write lyrics, and you've had you've done music at a trying to be at a professional level, things like that. But I'm interested in motorbikes.
Okay.
In a way, the paradox of a guy who's a creative guy who really likes engines and engineering and Six Sigma kind of precision. You're a guy who, for whom a motorcycle is not and it's not just a lifestyle choice. It is an extension of who you are. That's not art in some ways, or maybe it is. Why don't you tell me about it?
I think in a way it is. Motorcycle has been very personal for me. Um, it's been there ever since my early age, I think, and then it gave a lot of lessons. Surprisingly, I think it gives a lot of lessons. I learned more about graphic design by looking at engines, basically.
Okay.
A mechanic, you know, um, the connections between if there's a if there's a gear with six teeth on it, and there's one another gear that connect to that gear, but it just have four teeth on it, and when it's rotating, it would create this kind of vibrations, But if you switch the gears, it create different kind of vibration. If you add more gears, it create another more vibrations, By that, in graphic designs, and when I was doing some layouts, and I'm thinking about that gear as an analogy, and I felt that, oh shit, my design was flat, just there. I want something to vibrate it, so I add some gears, so I add some elements, what kind of elements. So basically, I keep working on it until I kind of felt the same way when I saw that gear, and after that, basically I found that, wow, I mean, we can learn a lot from everything basically. So I try to modify my motorcycle, and first of all, it's not. I don't really know who I am, so I just custom my bike, looking at all the cool bikes around. In Jakarta, there's this custom motorcycle trend thingy, and try to copy them, and try to ride with them, and at sort of level that it doesn't felt really as me, you know. You're right. So there's a side of introvert inside of me, so I don't really enjoy hanging out with a lot of bunch of people, talking and peacocking about this tire that I use, this kind of paint that I use, um, these millions carburetor that I use. No, I don't get impressed with that. And for me, it's about, and I took a long ride to Bali, but unfortunately, I haven't finished to Bali yet. I just came. I ended in Yogyakarta basically, but along the way, it's really good to have something that really can react based on your characteristic. Um, if you're not a person who's that who's that really, you don't have that good at moderate sense, it's great if you have a bike that was great with performance thing, acceleration thing, because it would compel what you don't have. So basically, I know I'm blabbering. In a way, it's gonna be something like a good bike is something that you don't have. It completes you a whole. And and when I get to Yogyakarta, I met with people in Yogyakarta really welcoming, especially when you're riding a bike. And they show this workshop, and there's a fellow riders also. We talk a lot about much, and and then he like he introduced me to this old mechanics. These old mechanics basically usually he's a doctor, but he became a mechanic. And the way he talks about mechanic is like it's like talking about the human anatomy. you know See an analogy, this is the lung. See, the oil is the blood and everything. You want to pump everything in the right, everything has to say get the exact proportion. So I kind of seeing this, the connection between art and engineering in science way. If science and art can can um, can harmonize together, they create really uh, they really create this vibe, you know. And then
I think what you're describing is, um, I'm speaking for you a little bit. Tell me if I'm wrong. Um, you're describing Rumi, a person who has passions in the industry and how he goes about tackling it. But the ethos of how you do that, you have found that a motorcycle is also giving you that type of energy in return. A
yeah,
motorcycle can give you gives you that satisfaction. It is a me time. Motorcycles are the most me time thing, right? Because it's just you and the handlebar. Um, but it sounds like motorcycles are an extension of who you are anyway.
yeah, it's the extension of my character basically. So like if you give more shit to your bike would give more shit to you, you know. And um well, not much of people know about this. I'm really okay. It's now wide open now. Everybody can
Yeah,
see it
sure.
now.
That's the reason I didn't want to talk about music. Everybody fucking knows you do music. I want to talk about it.
Yeah, because now everyone knows is I'm a bit vanilla if it comes to motorcycles, because everybody looked me around. My bike was loud, and they think I'm that kind of brat that's circling around Jakarta with that attitude, But at the true side of it is not. It's loud because it has to be loud, because it needs the compression need free flow for it, so it can run. It can run better like I want to run it. And I customize every part of my bike is basically based on my character. So every piece of it, the engine, the body, and the little quirks. I want it sounds like I want to. I want it sounds like not how I sound, but literally, I want it sounds like my character kind of. Now and I have this basically I have this angry issue with me, and it's really complicated when I'm riding with my bikes. Um, if I get really upset, we get reactive the first thing, we get upset, and to not get drawn to that reactive side, that I usually ride on my bike and just riding along, and all the problems and everything, I kind of start think it over and over and over, and until it finally kind of like I know what to do, I know what to solve, so
Yeah, it's an outlet. It becomes an outlet for for whatever bugaboos, frustrations, problems that you need to solve. It gives you that Zen time
yeah.
in some way.
Yes. So now it's not just a transportation. It's more than extension of my character. It's basically, like you said, it's an outlet for everything for me. It's my safest place. I don't go to cave. I don't isolate myself. I just hop on my bike and I ride anywhere.
Great. We Yeah. Um, I use the term work hard, play hard. I think you've described a different version of a work hard, play hard. For you, it's you 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 put enough care into what you do, as we should all do. We're human beings who have to work for a living, and you put effort into that. But then it's nice that you have an outlet that you can put effort into besides your music as well. That is, it becomes it can become a reflective moment when you're out there writing, and it can help you get away from things, but it can also put you in the space where you can deal with things. And the way you show it appreciation and respect is you take care of it.
Yeah.
You know, you take care of it, and you tend to it, because it adds to your life, just like everything should add to your life. Everything we do should be adding to our life. And yeah, we all need to do a lot more of that.
And
I want to finish off. We've been talking a long time. And the last thing is, guys, please do follow Seven Ideas with a Z
follow
on it.
Seven
Um, so because of Seven Ideas, I have this thing I end with all guests, which is give me seven names of people that you think I should talk to next. We feature a lot of people from all over the world. Because I live in Bali, I talk to a lot more of my Jakarta peers like Rumi. But they don't have to be creative people. They don't have to be accounts people. They don't even have to really be in advertising, but it's fine. Whoever you think would be nice for us to discuss, because it's about building a community. Who do you think, Rumi, I should talk to? I'm going to get a pen and a book, and I'm going to write these things down.
Okay,
Go on.
the first thing is I have my two mentors before that I really appreciate it. It goes to the first one is Pancha Putra. I think you should talk with him. He's so brilliant.
Again? What's the name again?
Pancha Putra.
Okay, yeah.
He's so brilliant. It's really dedicated his life into creativity. And then the next one is Dami Siddhartha. I think you should talk to Dami Siddhartha. He's the one who teach me a lot about strategy in creative. This
Is he a strategist?
yeah, how to structure thinking, how to get into ideas, so it's not gonna just a free falling wheel. And I think this like a mother. This person is like a mother for me. Is Wulan Rani. I learned a lot. Wulan Rani. I think.
Oh, Wulan Rani. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, basically, she helps me to learn more about people, understanding and everything. He urged me to create business and everything. And then the fourth would be.
I know Ronnie pretty well, but yeah, we work together. Yeah. Keep going.
And then the next is Panjalu Murthy. I used to work with him. Panjalu Murthy is a great art director. Now he's a brand side. I think now he's a lead creative there in the brand side. And then there's this strategy guy that I really like, Barik Nawawi.
Okay.
And I think it's gonna be interesting if we have Alex here. Alex Two Gorillas.
Two gorillas.
Right.
Sure.
I learned a lot.
Is he in Indonesia still?
No, I think it's already back into Aussie.
All right.
And then
Mr. Greek Oz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
think
you know what? In fact, you're right. I should probably contact Alex anyway.
Yeah.
We haven't got up with time. Yeah. Who else?
Very cool. And the last one will be Jessica Stephanie. I think Jessica Stephanie is a CCO at a brand. It makes a great
CCO of the brand.
Yeah. So you would have a great marketing conversation with her, I think.
Hey, I'm willing to talk to everybody here. Look, the point of this is it's building a community because at a time when we all need some, uh, we don't hear enough from our peers and leaders, and that's the reason I started this thing. It's only like 2 months old, as you know. I've only been doing it for a couple of months, like a weekend project of mine. The more people of different backgrounds, different disciplines across different countries that I can get, and hopefully I don't piss anyone off as a moderator and a host for the calls, and I can make the calls go in a good way. I'm hoping it provides a nice positive environment for people to get information. So guys, we're going to jump on the call right now. It's a live call, but we'll put up the clips in about a week's time. So probably before Lebaran, which is 6th or 7th, I think it is. I'll put the clips up on there. Please do follow Seven Ideas, and I tend to put one clip on the Instagram, which is where we are now. And all the clips I create with the conversation with Rumi goes on the TikTok page. The TikTok handle is exactly the same. It's still at Seven Ideas with a Z, Seven Ideas. But the link to the TikTok is on the Instagram that we're on right now. So please do follow. Clips will be up soon. Rumi, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, buddy. We went a lot longer than we were planning to, but I really appreciate that you took the time to do it.
Really? All right.
Yeah, no, I was awesome, man. That's what I get out of it. I get to talk to interesting people and hopefully expose a lot of about who they are. I was glad that you said not a lot of people knew about the whole motorcycles and all that stuff. I'm glad I was about to extract that out of you and to be able to hear your thoughts and share your thoughts with people listening, and hopefully more to continue as the clips come out. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, my friend. Talk soon.
Thank you, Z.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. I really appreciate it. Please stay tuned for more.
Follow
Bye.
7 Ideas.